I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time.
$200 million. That's what Carrey wanted to take from Will Smith. But his hatred for Hollywood's spineless culture went beyond just one slap.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
The standing ovation for violence had disgusted him. But this wasn't the first time an actor had shown Carrey Hollywood's true nature.
And I pulled up a chair, which probably wasn't smart. And he said, I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Tommy Lee Jones had delivered that crushing blow decades earlier. Now Carrey was ready to expose exactly why he couldn't stand these people.
You know, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
Now he's breaking his silence, naming actors who crossed the line and the battles that defined his career. The first name on Carrey's list came with shock and confusion. Here was Carrey, fresh off 3 blockbuster hits, walking onto set, eager to work with an Oscar winner he'd long respected. Tommy Lee Jones represented everything Carrey thought he wanted to become, a respected dramatic actor with serious credentials. But admiration turned to bitterness when Jones showed Carrey what that respect in Hollywood really meant. On the Batman Forever set in 1994, Jones and Carrey were pulling in $7 million each, but in the industry's eyes, they weren't equals. Jones, fresh from winning an Academy Award for The Fugitive, saw himself as leagues above the rubber-faced comedian. Warner Brothers had initially promised Billy Dee Williams the role of Two-Face, honoring his earlier casting as Harvey Dent in 1989's Batman. But when Joel Schumacher replaced Tim Burton as director, he pushed for Jones after working with him on The Client. Williams was cast aside, his contract ignored. Jones agreed to the part reluctantly. Reports say he told producer Peter McGregor Scott he didn't get it when first handed the script. Only his son's excitement convinced him to take on what he viewed as an embarrassing detour. From day one, Jones treated the project like slumming, serious work done for silly money. And then he met his co-star.
Tommy Lee Jones was talking to us.
It
was at a restaurant, and the maitre d' said, "Oh, Tommy, I hear you're working with Tommy Lee Jones. He's over in the corner having dinner." And I went over and I said, "Oh yeah, great." I went over and I said, "Hey Tommy, how you doing?" Like that, and the blood just drained from his face.
The infamous restaurant incident happened in Burbank near the Warner Brothers lot. After 12 grueling hours in his elaborate Riddler costume, Carrey spotted Jones dining and approached him, still full of excitement at working alongside a Hollywood legend. But Carrey didn't know Jones had already spent weeks venting to Schumacher about him. Crew members later confirmed Jones called Carrey unprofessional for improvising lines and disrespectful for cracking jokes between takes. To Jones, this wasn't a $100 million playground. It was supposed to be a serious production.
Before the biggest scene we have together in the movie, and the blood just drained from his face, and he started shaking, and he got up and he went like this. He must have been in mid-kill me fantasy or something like that. He was like like this, and he went like to hug me, and he said, "I hate you. I really don't like you."
The tension peaked during the villains' first scene together, a pivotal moment for their partnership. Jones had been dreading it. Matching Carrey's manic energy felt humiliating for a performer who prided himself on restrained, naturalistic acting. Timing made his resentment boil over. That same weekend, Carrey's Dumb and Dumber crushed Jones's passion project Cobb, a serious baseball biopic he had nurtured for years. Carrey's comedy grossed more in one weekend than Cobb would in its entire run.
And I pulled up a chair, which probably wasn't smart. And he said, I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
When Jones told Carrey, I cannot sanction your buffoonery, the word sanction wasn't random. It was his way of rejecting Carrey's very style of humor, a declaration that comedy was unworthy of respect. Jones, with his Harvard background and American repertory theater pedigree, saw Carrey as everything wrong with a Hollywood he believed was dumbing down. Schumacher later defended Carrey, saying, Jim Carrey was a gentleman. Tommy Lee was threatened by him. I'm tired of defending overpaid, overprivileged actors. The director revealed Jones demanded his dressing room be moved away from Carrey's and refused to rehearse with him.
My theory on that would be that he's a famous guy. He used to be the center of attention. You walk into a room, he's not the center of attention.
Well, he might have been uncomfortable doing that work, too. That's not really his style of...
Norm Macdonald later summed it up. Jones couldn't stand losing his status as the most important man in the room. His Oscar meant nothing when Carrey's magnetic energy drew every ounce of attention. For Carrey, this wasn't just about one co-star. It was his first glimpse at Hollywood's toxic elitism, the belief that drama reigned supreme and comedy was lesser. That experience would prepare him for an even more chilling revelation decades later when the industry applauded violence in real time. The clash with Jones had shown Carrey how Hollywood's hierarchy worked, but Will Smith's Oscar night scandal revealed something far more disturbing: how the industry protects its most powerful stars no matter what. While the world was shocked by Will Smith's Oscar slap, Jim Carrey wasn't surprised. He'd been watching Smith's carefully crafted image for years, seeing through the family man facade to the entitled celebrity underneath. When Smith slapped Chris Rock, Carrey didn't just see violence. He saw the culmination of everything he despises about modern celebrity culture. Here was Hollywood's supposed role model, the clean-cut star who'd built his career on wholesomeness, revealing his true nature when challenged. But what enraged Carrey most wasn't the slap itself. It was Hollywood's response. As Smith received a standing ovation just 53 minutes later, Carrey watched an entire industry expose its moral bankruptcy in real time. The message was clear. If you're powerful enough, you can literally assault someone on live television and still be celebrated.
Say, Jim Carrey. Yes.
What?
I've covered a lot of fashion weeks. This is the first time I've run into Jim Carrey. Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine.
Carrey's revulsion wasn't theoretical. For decades, he had endured cruel jokes about his relationships, mental health struggles, and career missteps. He'd sat through award shows where hosts mocked his appearance and private life, but never once had he resorted to violence. The Academy's response left him furious. Their statements about not condoning violence rang hollow when Smith was allowed to remain in the theater, unchallenged and celebrated minutes later. No security, no accountability, just applause. The message couldn't have been clearer. Fame granted immunity.
So I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time.
While Chris Rock declined to press charges, calling it too much hassle, Carrey publicly declared he would have sued Smith for $200 million. For Carrey, that number wasn't about revenge. It was a warning. Violence must have consequences regardless of celebrity status. But his anger wasn't limited to Smith's actions. He saw in Smith the very thing he despised about Hollywood's performative morality. For years, Smith had built his image as a family man and role model. Then, with the world watching, he shattered it and tried justifying the slap as an act of love and protection.
If you want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
Carrey's voice cut through the noise. While other celebrities hedged their comments with phrases like understanding both sides, Carrey called it what it was: criminal behavior, deserving arrest, not applause.
Escalate? It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and
Even as he condemned Smith, Carrey showed more compassion than the industry protecting him. He acknowledged Smith's internal struggles, but refused to excuse the violence, a nuance Hollywood seemed incapable of grasping. Online, the backlash against Carrey was swift. Critics dug up a 1997 MTV Awards moment where Carrey kissed Alicia Silverstone without permission, branding him a hypocrite. The message was unmistakable. Speak truth to power and the system will weaponize your past against you. Smith's Oscar scandal had shown Carrey how the industry protected individual stars who crossed moral lines. But if individual actors had shown him specific corruptions, the Kardashian phenomenon would represent everything he despised about modern celebrity culture. The worship of fame for fame's sake, the celebration of meaninglessness as achievement. In 2017, at a Harper's Bazaar fashion event celebrating icons, Carrey delivered his most savage critique of celebrity culture. When asked about attending an event celebrating icons, his disgust was immediate and visceral.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons,
in
boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons?
Icons, the very concept made him sick. The idea that people should be worshipped simply for being famous, that personality could be elevated above substance, that celebrity itself was worthy of celebration.
I believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry?
His rejection wasn't just philosophical, it was personal. The Kardashian-style fame machine represented everything toxic about the industry that had tried to corrupt him for decades. Fame without talent, celebrity without achievement, worship without meaning.
I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that.
The red S reference wasn't random. It was his critique of how celebrities presented themselves as superheroes, as if their fame granted them special powers or protection from consequences. The Kardashians had perfected this illusion, turning ordinary lives into worldwide obsessions through sheer marketing. In his 2018 Vanity Fair interview marking The Truman Show's anniversary, Carrey directly attacked what the Kardashians represented. The phenomenon of the Kardashians, I don't think it's healthy. There's so much onus on just being famous at any cost.
Here's the
Uplifting.
thing, it's not our world.
None
That's
of this
the
is
key.
real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news.
Okay.
For Carrey, the Kardashian empire represented the ultimate corruption of The Truman Show's warning. Instead of one person unknowingly trapped in fake reality, millions willingly consumed manufactured lives as entertainment. The Kardashians had turned Truman's nightmare into the American dream. But if the Kardashians represented systemic cultural decay, Shia LaBeouf revealed something even uglier. A younger generation of actors convinced fame gave them a license to steal and to launch vicious personal attacks. But Shia LaBeouf revealed something even uglier. A younger generation of actors convinced fame gave them a license to steal and to launch vicious personal attacks. December 16, 2013, Daniel Clowes, the acclaimed Ghost World artist, received a disturbing link. Shia LaBeouf had posted howardcantor.com online. Someone quickly noticed it was stolen word for word from Clowes' 2007 comic Justin M. Damiano. The theft was staggering. LaBeouf didn't bother changing character names or adjusting scenes. He simply lifted Clowes' deeply personal script and shot it with Jim Gaffigan in the lead. The film had even premiered at Cannes in May 2012. No one recognized the source material at the time. LaBeouf's plagiarism didn't stop there. His comic books contained stolen passages from Charles Bukowski and Benoit Dutertre. Even his Broadway apology to Alec Baldwin borrowed text straight from a 2009 Esquire article. Even his so-called apologies for plagiarism were themselves plagiarized, copied word for word from Yahoo Answers posts about creativity. By January 10, 2014, under mounting pressure, LaBeouf tweeted, "In light of the recent attacks against my artistic integrity, I am retiring from all public life." He thought disappearing would shield him. But Carrey wasn't about to let him get away. January 12th, the Golden Globes. Standing on stage at the Beverly Hilton, Carrey delivered a perfectly timed jab. Presenting an award, he quipped, "Dying is easy, comedy is hard." I believe it was Shia LaBeouf who said that. So young, so wise. The audience erupted. LaBeouf, watching from home, realized he'd just been taken down by one of comedy's biggest stars. LaBeouf's response was pure pseudo-intellectual deflection. He tweeted, "If you explain Jim Carrey, you've killed him. Nobody knows if it's for real or not. That way, he's immortal." Rather than owning up, he tried to turn Carrey's joke into a philosophical reflection. Then he made the fatal mistake that turned Carrey from critic to enemy. LaBeouf posted a YouTube video of Jim's daughter's band, the Jane Carrey Band, and added a venomous caption, "At least I don't get arrested for indecency on major LA highways or abandon love children." He had dragged Jane Carrey into a feud she had no part in. Worse still, the attack wasn't original. It recycled tabloid gossip about indecency arrests and abandoned children, both long debunked. Even that cruelty wasn't his own creation. The insults were lifted almost verbatim from Rupert Murdoch's 2012 tweets about Hugh Grant, with a few words swapped out to target Carrey instead. Within 30 minutes, LaBeouf was backpedaling. He tweeted, "Jim Carrey states that he is deeply involved in his daughter's life. I accept that. Regret tweet on the matter. Apologies to both parents." Then came his final retreat. "I am not famous anymore." But the damage was already done. One unsettling detail emerged later. At the time of his attacks, LaBeouf had been following just one person on Twitter, Jane Carrey. After his outburst, he quietly unfollowed her. This wasn't simple bad judgment. It bordered on obsession, stalker-like behavior that crossed every professional and personal line. For Carrey, LaBeouf became the embodiment of everything wrong with modern celebrity culture: entitlement, recklessness, and the delusion that fame excused any behavior. But while LaBeouf represented young Hollywood's arrogance, Carrey's next clash exposed a more insidious force: how veteran stars maintained their careers by demanding silence from others brave enough to speak out. After enduring LaBeouf's theft and personal attacks, Carrey's next conflict came not from a reckless newcomer, but from a Hollywood veteran whose words carried heavy influence. The conflict between Carrey and Wahlberg emerged from Hollywood's most controversial medical debate. While most celebrities avoided vaccine discussions, Carrey had become the most visible spokesman for the anti-vaccine movement through his relationship with Jenny McCarthy.
Carrey once had a long-time relationship with Jenny McCarthy, whose son has autism, which McCarthy believes was caused by vaccines. Carrey believes that vaccines contain harmful chemicals and compounds, including mercury and thimerosal. By getting vaccinated, he claims children become at risk for mercury poisoning.
Wahlberg's response was swift and public. People should shut up and just act. The comment came during a 2009 interview when Wahlberg was asked about celebrities promoting controversial medical theories. While he didn't name Carrey directly, everyone understood the target. The message was clear: entertainers should entertain, not educate. For Wahlberg, Carrey's vaccine activism represented celebrity culture at its worst. The arrogant assumption that fame granted medical expertise, the reckless use of influence to spread potentially harmful information. Celebrities, in his view, should stick to safe causes that wouldn't damage their marketability. For Carrey, those words cut deep. To him, this wasn't sound advice. It was cowardice disguised as wisdom. Here was an industry that thrived on persuasion, where actors routinely endorsed political candidates and championed social causes. Yet suddenly, when the issue became controversial, speaking out was forbidden. The hypocrisy was staggering. Wahlberg's past included violent incidents and hate crime charges. His Marky Mark persona had thrived on edgy rebellion. Yet now, he was the one telling others to stay in line. For Carrey, Wahlberg symbolized Hollywood's unspoken rules: support safe causes, avoid anything that threatens your brand, and never risk alienating the audience. Wahlberg embodied the calculated silence of veteran stars, those who had benefited from second chances but demanded conformity from peers willing to take moral risks. This confrontation taught Carrey something new about Hollywood's weaponized morality. The same system that profited from controversy used its power to silence actors who refused to play it safe. But if Wahlberg represented the industry's public face of control, Carrey's next conflict would strike even closer to home. It wasn't about an actor or a peer. This time, it was about someone he loved, and how even intimacy could be manipulated into a weapon. The relationship between Carrey and McCarthy began in December 2005, shortly after her divorce from John Asher. But friends later revealed that McCarthy had specifically targeted Carrey for his celebrity platform and financial resources in her war against the medical establishment. When Carrey announced their breakup on Twitter in April 2010, his measured words masked years of accumulated resentment. The relationship had become unsustainable because love had been corrupted into a political weapon. The manipulation was subtle, but relentless. McCarthy scheduled family time around autism events, ensuring Carrey bonded with her son Evan while being exposed to her activist circle. She'd disguise Generation Rescue meetings as casual gatherings, surrounding him with parents whose children had allegedly been vaccine damaged. Carrey's transformation from apolitical comedian to anti-vaccine crusader was gradual. McCarthy spent months educating him about autism recovery, introducing him to controversial doctors, convincing him his platform came with moral obligations to vulnerable children. By 2008, Carrey was fully committed. He spoke at the Green Our Vaccines rally in Washington, D.C., funded McCarthy's autism school, contributed millions to Generation Rescue, and used his Twitter to promote vaccine skepticism. But the costs were enormous. Carrey's involvement alienated him from Hollywood, damaged longtime friendships, and made him a target for medical professionals who viewed him as spreading dangerous misinformation. McCarthy's demands became increasingly unreasonable. She expected Carrey at every autism event, funding for every Generation Rescue initiative, public defensive positions he wasn't comfortable taking. When he showed reluctance, she'd weaponize their relationship and his bond with Evan. The pressure was constant. McCarthy would schedule romantic getaways around autism conferences, turning private moments into public recruiting missions. She'd invite documentary filmmakers to capture intimate family moments, transforming their relationship into propaganda. Months after their breakup, McCarthy's explanation to Oprah was devastatingly simple. It wasn't fun anymore. But the real reason was Carrey's withdrawal from vaccine activism, questioning extreme positions McCarthy wanted him to take. The same week they announced their split, McCarthy closed her autism school, citing different visions with her partner. Industry sources revealed Carrey had been planning to buy out McCarthy's partner and fund the operation himself, but chose to walk away from both the school and relationship. For Carrey, McCarthy represented the dangerous intersection of personal and political manipulation, how intimate relationships could be weaponized to force public positions, how love could be corrupted into persuasion. This painful lesson about the corruption of personal relationships would complete Carrey's education about Hollywood's true nature, preparing him to understand the deeper system that had created all of these toxic dynamics. At 63, Jim Carrey had survived Hollywood's worst. 5 different enemies had tried to break him through elitism, violence, theft, cowardice, and manipulation. But the man who started in comedy clubs never compromised his integrity, even when it meant making enemies of the industry's most protected stars. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.